All right, welcome to another episode of the Startup Junkies podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you're listening, thank you for watching. If you're watching us on YouTube, wherever you're watching from, we appreciate you for joining us. Go ahead and give us a like, share, subscribe, do all that before we get too far into this and you decide to turn it off. Today's episode is brought to you by Tiny Capital. Tiny Capital knows that selling your business can be a miserable task, months of negotiation, legal fees, and you get to watch the new owner trash the business you built. Tiny was founded to be the buyer they wish they could have sold to. Fair, fast, and founder-friendly. If you're looking for a new home for your internet-based business, reach out to Tiny Capital. They'll respond in a day or two, make an offer in a week, and close a straightforward deal in about a month. So get in touch with our friends at Tiny Capital at tinycapital.com/startupjunkies, and you can find that link in our show notes. All right, now that the bills are paid, I am excited to introduce you to our guests today. Many of our listeners will already know one of them because our LIVSN podcast from probably 2 years ago, maybe. How long ago was that? Maybe 2 years ago, is still consistently our most downloaded Startup Junkies podcast. We did kind of a roundup of some of our most popular ones for the first week of the new year, and it again just shot up to the charts again. So welcome everybody, Andrew Gibbs-Dabney, and I'm also excited to introduce Kelsey Ferguson, who is a new member of the LIVSN team and someone I've known since I was probably 6 years old.
Yes.
We can finally get all the dirt on Caleb.
Nice. Caleb has always been one of the good ones, actually. I don't really have much to say about Caleb negatively. We could pick out some others, but not Caleb. Caleb's great.
Just let me know where you want your check sent.
Yeah, right.
Well, welcome, y'all. Thank you for joining the Startup Junkies podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's been a while since the last time we were on here. It's been 2 years, but it really doesn't seem like that long ago in the grand scheme of things, except for the fact that we were doing it in your office last time, 2 feet from each other.
That's right. Back in the good old days.
Yeah,
pre-COVID.
The third recording, your third LIVSN episode will be in person. We'll work our ways toward that. And then we got the kegerator here. You won't even have to worry about, pre-drinking before the recording.
Those are the office benefits I miss,
Absolutely. The kegerator.
Mm-hmm.
You can only play that George Thorogood song about when I drink alone so many times, because now it's not just fun and ironic, it's actually true. So anyway, so we need a LIVSN update. What's the latest since 127 six-packs or 2 years ago?
Man, we've done quite a bit, as you hopefully have seen if we're doing our jobs right. But in no particular order, the most recent development is that we actually have an office space. Oddly enough, in the middle of COVID, we've decided we're going to have a physical location. So we haven't moved in yet, but we've signed the lease, and I was looking at internet packages for the office space, very fun stuff for a startup here. And we're going to be slowly kind of making a space our own. And while we won't really be working there in the traditional sense of an office, we're going to have a appointment only retail showroom, a place where we can house all of our samples and things that we send out to retailers and media people, and a little operations base. And so that's been the newest development, coming right on the heels actually of hiring Kelsey. So Kelsey's the person here on this podcast, and that's been the biggest probably internal development for the company in a long time, really, because the company doubled in size as far as full-time employees when we hired Kelsey. So that's been awesome. And Kelsey, that's about, a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I was hired right before the holidays, so I'm not really sure if you count that as like a week or 2 months. Depending on how much you maybe wanted to work or not. But yeah, I would say that I've been kicking off 2021 with Andrew.
Yeah, and she's been great. We'll circle back to that because that's something I definitely want to talk about. But that's just the most recent things. We have done a lot in the last year. 2020 was an interesting one for us because of obvious world events that made predicting what was going to happen, operating, buying, selling, just unpredictable in the most extreme way. And so we ended up taking a risk and buying inventory back in spring, right at the very beginning of this, because we kind of weighed this decision as, you know, if we wait and see, we're not going to have inventory, we're not going to sell anything, we're not going to be a company. So we're going to have to go ahead and make a bold step forward. And with all the bad things that have happened in the world, outdoor recreation has been one of the highlights. People being outside, and that took us along with it. So throughout the summer, we ended up selling more pants than we ever have. And along with tees and other things, but we also executed a retail soft launch. So we brought on about 20 outdoor retailers throughout the middle USA for a very almost invite only soft launch for our retail program. So we can get the kinks ironed out, get really good retailers on our side, make sure we were ready to go big in that area. And that was very successful. We, aside from a small COVID supply chain related delay, we fulfilled almost 100% of what we pre-ordered, got into stores, and almost all the stores have sold through pretty much all the pants they got. And so we've had a really great launch there, had a really great holiday season as far as sales. We've really started to figure out .com and e-commerce, which, it's funny to say we figured it out now, it's all we've been doing, but we've been able to find a winning formula from an advertising point of view and also from a press point of view. And on that last note, in 2020, that saw us get our product into Outside Magazine Buyer's Guide as the best climbing gear of 2020. Pretty quickly after that, we got into GearJunkie.com, put us on their front page with a full article feature saying that we're their favorite pants of 2020, which means a lot in the industry, just a lot to me as a reader of that publication. And then after that, we were kind of hit a hot list of Forbes, Men's Journal, Backpacker, just lots of great press that helped fuel growth this year. And we pretty much doubled in sales. And, there's a lot of small stuff, but it's been a really great year among a really bad year, if that makes sense. We've been chasing our tails a little bit, but as far as the business goes, it was a growth year for us and lots of exciting things.
Sounds like pretty bright light high points and kind of a sea of what could be really distressing. But you all, I could say that I have 2 pairs of LIVSN pants, and they're my favorite 2 pairs of pants that I wear. And I wear them just as much to work. Of course, the alternative for work these days is, am I going to wear the Navy gym shorts or am I going to wear the LIVSN pants? But because work is pretty much behind the camera these days. But man, they're awesome. It's no surprise to me that the accolades have come in, because they are the best pants that I have as far as durability and stretch and comfort and inside, outside, whatever the occasion is. And that was not a paid endorsement. And I'm not your typical, looks like he just came right out of Rock Climbing Magazine form factor, right? Think of more of post middle age, old guy that's 25 pounds overweight who still thinks he's an athlete and is hard to fit. And the pants really fit well. So there's your old guy endorsement for future reference.
Man, thank you. It's I love hearing that. Absolutely. Especially when we hear it. It's somewhat uncomfortable for me to talk about how great our product is. I like other people to do it right. I like that thing. So thank you. But we hear that a lot. A lot of our customers, probably the majority of people we talk to, say something very similar. It's like, I now own 2 pairs of your pants, 3 pairs of your pants, and they're my top 3 pants. And I've gotten rid of almost everything else. And that's all I wear. I lounge around the house in them. I go hiking in them. I take the kids to the park. I go to work when that works for people. And it's just really cool to see something that we work so hard on, specifically, not just the brand, but that particular product, making it as good as possible, actually serve that place in people's lives so well, and not have any compromises. So thanks for sharing.
And I think what's most interesting about that is, on the marketing side here at Startup Junkie and meeting with clients who are looking for advice in marketing, everybody wants to do everybody wants to know how to do the media play, how to get the press, how to get the earned media, how to go that route. it's hard to explain sometimes. You don't just do it. I mean, you have to build they come to you when you build something well. I mean, that's kind of the key takeaway, is that you just don't say, hey, do a story on me. That might work sometimes, but you have to really build something first.
It's a lot cheaper if they like the product.
Exactly.
You can buy your way into some stuff, but if you're getting the pants on, or if you're getting your product on and in people's hands and they really start using it, that's the way to do it. And that's what we got lucky with early on, was meeting some of these editors at trade shows. What's a trade show in 2020? But before that, we were going to events and putting up a tent and a space and bringing pants and saying, finding those people and saying, hey, I really want to give you a pair. And then following up later, and luckily the work that we put into it paid off, and they said, well, we really like these.
You very successfully gotten people in your pants.
Yeah, we got a lot of people in our pants.
Gee, that sounds like a bumper sticker that I wouldn't put on my car, but it might be fun for you, Caleb. I don't know.
There's a lot of pants puns that roll around our company Slack.
I bet
it's too lucrative of an opportunity to not really go down that road a little bit. We can't be too stiff about it.
I know, Andrew, as I've kind of seen you from inception of the brand and the company to now and all the different steps. At one point you were looking at additional lines of apparel, and there was a bunch of other cool stuff you were doing. And then it seemed like for a while you've refocused specifically on, we're going to own the outdoor, all purpose active pants segment. Are you still there, or are you adding additional SKUs to the line? Where's your latest thinking?
Yeah, so we're actually about to launch another pair of pants. So we are ready to expand. We have worked on new products and they're ready to go, but we're not diving head first into every product category. A big part of this, as from the beginning, was to do one thing, do what we do really, really well. Make sure that what we do release comes out and it's high quality and that there's a purpose for it, right? From a sustainability point of view, it's that we don't want to make things that just don't need to exist. But we've spent enough time not doing anything else to identify areas where there's, our first major gap. And that was from our customers. So we're actually launching a pair of pants called the EcoTrek Trail Pants on Kickstarter in less than 2 weeks. So we're launching on February the 2nd. I'm not exactly sure when this goes live, so it could be in the past, but as long as it's between February 2nd and March 2nd, they're live right now. And I would encourage you to go check them out. But so what our customers were saying were, we love the flex canvas pants. Just like you said, I wear these every day. But, I go hiking and it's not always predictable if it's going to rain, right? It might get wet. And a canvas pant, for all of its, beautiful benefits, is not very good when it gets wet, especially if you're in a cold scenario. So we started working on a fully synthetic pant, which means that there's no there's no natural cotton content in it, which holds water. And so this particular pant, the EcoTrek, is recycled nylon sourced from ocean buoys. So the buoys were pulled out of the ocean within 100 miles of the mill, turned into a new textile, and it happens to be this really great feel. It's very stretchy. It's water resistant. It's quick drying. It's sweat wicking, and from a look and feel perspective, they're very similar to our flex canvas pants, but they're a fully different fabric. And a couple other trail specific features. We put an internal drawstring inside the waistband and then expanded one of those little knife EDC pockets to be a full phone pocket with a zipper or a mat pocket or whatever you need it for. And so that's going to be our third Kickstarter. And that's what Kelsey's been thrown right into the lion's den with the preparation for. So
most important question of the day for both of you, given that they've come from ocean buoys, do I get a discount if I talk like a pirate when I make my order?
Yes, it'll be automatic. No, your computer will hear it and it'll automatically apply it. So
that's what I'm looking for, and I
might wear only if it knows that you're wearing a pirate hat in your Zoom background when you make the purchase.
I'll go full in with the parrot and the sword and the peg leg and the whole uniform if I have to.
It sounds like we have our next trail pant model. So next time you
think we
just want
need
to
a
come
video.
into our studio, we'll make that happen for you.
All right,
Yeah, I think
sounds
we need a
good.
video of Jeff in a pirate outfit giving us an endorsement of the EcoTrek trail pants.
Yeah, I've got a price. I could be convinced to do that if the money was
How
right.
much beer does it cost?
There you go. We're talking beer coins now, increments of $10, which is what one beer coin is denominated in. So yeah, we can do it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So maybe it'd be a good time for Kelsey to say what the experience has been to jumping into a now 2-person startup, and what it's like to jump in and get ready for a third Kickstarter launch, and kind of working with our outsourced teams and just really
that was my
diving
question.
in. But
you stole my question.
yeah.
I'll let you
Who's the
ask
host
it.
here?
Yeah.
Hey,
Caleb,
Kelsey. So
ask
Kelsey,
me the question.
Kelsey, so tell us, how has it been to join a startup and to double it in size, overnight, and to jump right into a Kickstarter campaign?
Well, I would say that the first point would be not only was I jumping into a startup, but I was leaving a job that I had been at for many years at the end of 2020, which of course had been an epic year, and the job market wasn't exactly thriving. And so when this opportunity came along, I realized pretty quickly that this was a very important moment for me. This was an opportunity for me to really, really hone in a skill set in a field that I identified that I loved and wanted to grow in. And knowing Andrew for years before this move, I watched him start LIVSN. I've followed along since the beginning, even though I personally am waiting on a women's version of the same pant. I've been following along since the beginning. I've always felt like the company has a different feel than many other companies I know. And if you look at the messaging that Andrew has created the entire time that the brand has been alive, you'll notice that we don't shy away from being transparent about everything that we are good at and what we need to improve on, and how we're going to do that. Just because the apparel industry can be fickle, and the last thing that we want to do is be fickle. So I knew that a startup was going to be fast-paced, but it feels like the right move, and it has yet to feel overwhelming just because our leadership is really strong at the company. Andrew does a really good job of being very direct about what he wants, but in a way that makes you feel like you can get it done. Like you can do it, and it doesn't have to be perfect the first time, and mistakes are okay as long as we learn from them and do better each time. So coming on board for a Kickstarter was just one more thing for me to dive into, right? Like what's one more high-paced thing to jump into when you've already made such a drastic move. I'm really, really thankful that we're launching this Kickstarter, because I've learned how to meet people that maybe I wouldn't have reached out to in the past, and learn the outdoor apparel industry at a completely different level. If you get to know your people at the press level especially, you find that behind the computer screen, they're just people that want to support great products. I think that you meant that when you said earlier that you need to build something well for people to be interested in talking to you and sharing your product. And there's so much mediocrity in this industry and across the board that excellent products stand out, and excellent products should get that press. So this Kickstarter is just one of many opportunities for us to continue to hone in on that messaging and be, the successful startup from Northwest Arkansas that doesn't have to be based in New York City or Los Angeles to really make a splash and change some of the direction.
What were you doing before you made the move?
Well, I've been in the outdoor industry for years. I actually was in the mountain biking industry specifically, in kind of the trail building world, trail building, and then moving into the up and coming small business sector of Bentonville. Our company opened up and this is probably part of why I felt like I could probably just jump. We opened a bar 7 days before we were shut down in March. So we built a business plan, built a full big building, bar, everything, hired our staff, and opened our doors. And then 7 days later said, never mind, and shut them back down. So all of 2020 was just the most roller coaster work year at every level. Every single day was a new problem to solve, and they weren't just like your normal problems. They weren't just like, how do we make our customer experience better? How do we make a better product? It went so many levels deeper than that. So yeah, I would consider to be the outdoor industry here.
Well, the good news is you survived 2020 and everything else will be easy. Right?
Yes. Well, that's what, I don't know. I don't want to say that, right? Like, you don't want to set yourself up. You're like, oh man, how could this get crazier? But let's just hope. Let's just hope that was to me, probably like the biggest learning year that I've ever had for myself. I really grew, I think, probably a few more years than maybe I should have. I feel a lot older now, but I also feel pretty clear about who I want to support in business here in Northwest Arkansas. So,
well, I've sometimes have said that every year you spend in a startup, you age like a dog, 7 years for every one. That's part of the reason why I'm only 27 and I've got all this white hair. But
27, huh?
Yeah. But I think 2020 amplified that. So if you were in a startup and you were in 2020, it's probably 2x. Now, hopefully that doesn't manifest in actual aging, but in the gathering of wisdom and resilience. That's the way I'd kind of like to look at it.
I'm going to decline to comment on whether that aged me physically. But mentally, I grew up a little bit.
Yeah, we also had our first child, a little boy, on February 17th this year. So
that's huge.
The timing was, somewhat optimal because, hospital was still open. We could have visitors. My wife's parents came up and stayed with us without fear. But as soon as they left, lockdown, shut down. So we've got a little COVID baby, but he's doing really great. So if you add the baby into the startup aging, I think I may be at 14 years. We'll figure it out.
Well, and no sleep, right? I mean, forget about circadian rhythms, and if you get to sleep in 30-minute to hour intervals, it's amazing. Yep. And something you can hold against my business partner and son is when he was young, people used to ask me, there's like, how old was he when he slept through the night? And I said, 10. They said, 10 months? I said, no, 10 years old was how old that kid was when he was restful enough to sleep through the night. So he's got what I'd call a statistical outlier. I don't think that will be your fortune. Hopefully it isn't. But yeah. And again, your life changes forever when you have kids. There's no doubt about it, particularly if you're trying to do a startup, but it's all good.
Yeah. We, hopefully it's not just a fluke if we have more, but we lucked out. We've got a good sleeper,
you're lucky.
Let's see, about 4 months he started sleeping through the night, maybe a little sooner. And he sleeps through the night every single night.
That's awesome.
7 p.m. to 7 a.m. almost.
You're doing your karma and your Zen must be fully aligned, because that's great. You're really lucky.
It's a testament to LIVSN if you want it to be, right? Maybe we'll bring your son on to the podcast next to talk about, how
what the experience was like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious about you're a father now and you have a son that's almost a year old. I mean, you're raising a child while also LIVSN's obviously a child. What's that experience been the past year balancing that? It's a balancing act, right?
It is, but I'm not good at sitting still from like a project point of view. Like I'm not like one of the people that bounces off the walls, but I'm really bad at just saying like I'm doing this one thing and I'm going to simplify the rest of my life. I'm sure and I'm hoping I learn that as I go. So not only have we, had the baby and did LIVSN, now we're looking at, we got the office, we're looking at potentially moving, we're just doing all sorts of stuff. And so I would say that it's added a whole nother level that's above and beyond what I'm used to. And if it weren't for my wife being amazing and the support system we have, it just wouldn't work. That's the reality is, she's such a good mother and she works full time for Sam's Club, but also works from home. So, her being such a good mother and, us being able to work together and, I take mornings, I get them up, feed them, take them to school, do the whole morning entertainment. And she pretty much takes the evenings, but, we're both there both times. And between that, we made it work. But it really is, it's like having two babies from a time perspective. You can't, when you're a startup, you can't be passive and let things come to you, right? Just like you can't be passive and let the baby do his thing, right? Like you have to be feeding it all the time. Like you feed the startup, you feed the child, you change the startup, change the startup's diaper and you change the baby's diaper, right? There's always, it's very, very similar and it's kind of a double thing and it's working right now, so figuring it out.
I can
somehow.
attest to that, Andrew. I think that all of us that work with you and for you are constantly asking questions. We're constantly learning as well, and we need things all the time. And if you don't give us what we need and what we want at the moment, like we just keep asking, we'll just keep bugging until we get that answer. I believe that's probably the same tactic of a child is, hey, I need this right now.
I thought you were going to say something about changing diapers.
Oh, no, I'm not going to go that far. No, I would hope that we're self-sufficient enough not to maybe track that direction. But I definitely
think the startup analogous activity to startup for changing diapers is like going back to emails from 3 weeks ago that really need action and finally getting back and like replying and getting things going and start it back up. It's like, oh, I got to clean everything out. Start fresh, get caught up.
So what comes next? I mean, you've got this launch that's coming out, really cool materials in the pants. You're on this pathway to global domination in the active pants space. What comes next?
So pretty soon after the Kickstarter launches and closes, we'll actually be releasing shorts directly. No Kickstarter, no pre-sale, any of that kind of stuff, but we'll have flex canvas shorts, so you can kind of envision what that's going to be like. And then we've got another pair of shorts that are yet to be named, but they're really awesome. It's kind of like a active short with like almost like Lululemon meets Patagonia kind of style of short, sweat wicking, quick drying, gusseted crotch, stretch waistband, that kind of thing. We need to name that. But we'll be releasing 2 shorts this summer. So that'll be a big expansion for us, not Kickstarter related. It's new game for us, just a direct release. We are the wholesale side of it from a retail point of view. We did our soft launch and now we're basically doing phase 2 of that. And what I mean by that is we're not going like full shotgun blast. We never will because of our values towards, quality, but we're not doing like a big trade show tour either. So we went from 2 outside sales reps that executed our soft launch for this season to 9 this season. So we just expanded into the Southeast, the Rocky Mountains, Idaho, Montana, the Great Lakes, and that's it. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. But we just expanded into new territories, pretty much everything except for the Northeast and the West Coast, which will be our next season. So we are signing on retailers. So we've got retailers signed up from Utah, from Colorado, from Wyoming, from Montana, from Georgia, from Tennessee, from Illinois. And among those that we're courting are some pretty big recognizable names. So that's a fish we're trying to land on many different fronts. And then this fall, assuming some other activities go well for us, from sales and fundraising point of view, we're actually going to be releasing that women's line that Kelsey's very eager for. So when I say line, it may end up just being the women's flex canvas pants, which we're now on like prototype, I think 5. I'm looking at them out of the corner of my eye of those, just making sure we really dial in the fit. And with women's too, it's not just fit, it's making sure that you're not just making a smaller version of a men's product. It's making sure that the features and the pockets and everything that works in there works on a woman's body, because it's different. The way they wear clothes are different. The body shapes are much more varied. And so assuming a few things go right, we'll actually release the women's flex canvas pants this fall. And then we're really excited about this office space that we've got. It's a very high profile location in Bentonville, actually. And it's a place that can be activated in a lot of different ways for events, do a little prayer that we can do that again here by the end of the year, but lots of indoor and outdoor events and really cool activations, and people are moving into that space with us that are very complimentary. And then really along with all that is our team's going to grow. So we've got hires planned for this summer in a few different key areas, so that, that Kelsey gets some support and I get some more support. And some of that is kind of in-housing some stuff we do out of house now, and some of it's completely new roles that we really need.
Man, exciting times. It sounds like you're teed up for 2021 to be the best year yet.
Yeah. The hope at a startup, I think, is that every year is the best year yet, right? For quite some time. But yeah, this year's big for us. I just placed, POs for, I don't know, let's see, 6 times more than we've ever ordered as far as inventory.
That's exciting.
Across, a few products. So it's a little bit more diversified, but like I said, we're not like the traditional company where we're putting inventory across 24, 36 SKUs, different individual products, really across 3 or 4. So the risk is a little bit hedged, but still it's kind of a gut wrenching moment when you push send on that email and you're like, oh, okay, because they're going to come back with the deposit you got to pay to get going. And so we're moving forward.
Based on your ideal customer and what you've learned through your direct to consumer sales, what geographies have the customers that are buying your stuff the most? It was just kind of a point of curiosity. Is it all the places you'd think that have big outdoor activities, or is it everywhere? Where are some geographies that are really hotter than others and people are buying like crazy?
Yeah. So our top markets, wouldn't be surprising to anybody that does a lot of e-commerce. So our top markets as far as states are California, New York, and Texas. And the reason for that is because where do people live, right? Like, right. California, New York, and Texas. But within that, it's interesting. Like California, we're almost evenly split between LA and San Francisco. Texas, we've got more Austin customers than Dallas. New York, it's New York City. But outside of those areas, it's the Pacific Northwest and the Rocky Mountains are big for us. So we do a lot of business in Oregon and Washington, Colorado, and then we also do quite a bit to somewhat of the Southeast, so like Georgia area, and a little bit in Appalachia. And then Arkansas is actually usually kind of towards the bottom of the top 10 for us. It's actually raising a lot faster than it has been. It's been somewhat of a curiosity because we started on Kickstarter and because we've been online based and haven't had a retail store, that kind of thing, that Arkansas has been not anywhere, usually not even in the top 10 for us as far as revenue. But as our local notoriety, and I think the fact that we're in stores like Pack Rat and the Woodsman and Ozark Outdoor down in Little Rock, we've started to see Arkansas steadily climb up as far as sales. So, but you're right. It really is like it's population centers and then outdoor areas, places where there's an outdoor community and a cluster of people that are into that kind of thing, which is promising. It's what we want. It'd be weird if it wasn't. We'd be scratching our heads a little bit.
I know that we talked the last Kickstarter that you did, and I think we determined that was the second most successful Kickstarter out of the state of Arkansas on Kickstarter ever. So does that set the bar of like, okay, I've got to get past that threshold now? Like, let's take it to the next level.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we definitely want to show growth over the last one. From the first to the second, we showed growth, which I thought not a ton. It went from 78 to 105,000. But I thought it was notable in the sense that we did it with a product that was actually being relaunched, with a lot less budget for it, because we were kind of in a spot where we had to do or die, and we didn't have a lot to really put into it. So it was fairly slim. And so I thought that was notable. This time we are definitely looking to show growth, and we've taken the pre-launch promotion and preparation for this one to an entirely different level than anything we've done before. It's not even in the same stratosphere as far as the effort, the size of our pre-launch audience, the kind of press that's lined up, and the video and the campaign page and our partners there. So we're really hoping to show growth on this one.
Andrew, something I'd be curious about is, with all this growth, have you considered going into or seeding funds from venture capital?
Yeah, Jeff knows a lot about this from our whole, since the very beginning of this company. And when I started it, the idea was somewhat to pattern match off of something like Allbirds, right? So you have one successful Kickstarter, they only did about 140 or something like that. And then take that business plan, the product idea, and what we're trying to do, and raise a significant seed round to go and just, jumpstart it. And I've always had this chip in my shoulder that says that the best way to build a company is based on values and good product and doing it the right way, good customer service, and that's not that does not run counter to being funded by a VC or investment. Honestly, that the pitch to the investors at that point was, look, we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. And it may take us 25% longer, but we're going to be 100% more profitable and more valuable at the end of it. So that didn't happen the way that I had starry-eyed plans to do, as I think it happens for a lot of people, right? It turns out VCs and institutional investors really want a lot of traction and proof. They want some things they can point at and say, look, this is no longer my judgment call. I can rely on these numbers and these indicators that says that we think you're going to be successful. And one Kickstarter in apparel and outdoor apparel, which is not a VC heavily understood area, does not equate to that. What it did do was open up the ability to go and do like a Techstars accelerator, which we did. We went down to Austin, did a 3-month business accelerator in Techstars, which has a lower acceptance rate than MIT. We just happened to connect with that group, and that got us in front of a lot of VC. Had a lot of meetings with various venture capital individuals and firms, and that didn't pan out either. Then we still hadn't had, Techstars didn't buy us that check, right? They still wanted that traction. So honestly, we turned pretty hard away from it after that and refocused efforts on that Kickstarter, that second one, getting another proof point at that point, because we didn't have enough money to go out and buy inventory, and then refocusing that effort onto local individuals, people in our network, and people that really knew me and knew the product and could and felt comfortable making that judgment call. I'll help you support this because I think that this can be something great. And that's pretty much what we're on now. It's worked. We've been able to raise the capital we need, not more than we need, from people mostly around here that really believe in what we're doing and don't have a lot of their own motives. And so we may go back to that, but our sights are set a little more local, a little more on what we need. And if the right partner is there and we feel like that partnership is good, then we're ready to take the capital. But
if you don't ever have to get on that treadmill with an institutional VC and can hit the vision you want to hit, you'll be a happier company. I'll tell you that, because it's a treadmill that once you get on it, you can't get off it, and getting off of it is at a time and place of the VC's choosing, not always yours.
Right.
So, again, that's coming from a guy who runs a small fund, but I'm telling you, if you can figure out how betting on you and
I don't have I trust you 100% on that. I don't have the experience set on the other side to say it's untrue, but I do have the experience set of working with the latter, working with the the people that believe in the vision and the long-term, the product and just want to help. And that's been a really amazing experience. So I could see that, if we could continue to do that, that'd be great.
That's great.
Yeah. And we may not, before too long, we may not need to. There's always the ability to accelerate, but ideally we don't really need the outside capital before too long.
And that's even better because customer money is the best money of all.
Yeah. And things like Kickstarter help that, the bigger that goes, Kickstarter, as we talked about in the past, and as I've told every one of your clients that you've referred, doesn't have great margins, right? By the time Kickstarter itself as a platform, by the time you play that game, you're not making a lot, but the bigger it goes, the more there is, that margin to help fund growth, and it's possible. And so, we're not banking on that, right? Like we actually have a CFO now and a bookkeeper, and we've got our projections. So we're not putting down like $1 million in the books for a Kickstarter, but if it happens, that changes the game. We just aren't banking on it. We're not betting on it, and we're not expecting it. So I'm going to just knock on some wood.
Well, Andrew, I guess we're probably close to the time where we try to land the plane. We, as you probably know, end with a question. We ask entrepreneurs if they could go back in time and give themselves advice. What kind of advice would you give yourself knowing what you know now? If we were to go back, say, 2 years to the last time you were on the Startup Junkie podcast, between that span of time, what have you learned that you would relay to Andrew 2 years ago?
I would tell myself to figure out how to buy more pants, to be quite honest. Just keep inventory in stock. That's been the hardest thing. It gets somewhat frustrating. It's good. Like they always say, it's the best problem to have, but it's somewhat frustrating to see demand, but not the supply, and not being able to fill it, especially when you're having trouble, like with cash flow, right? You're like, if we just had it, that'd be one thing. So we think we've learned that lesson, but I think if I could go back 2 years and tell myself that earlier, just figure out how to buy more inventory.
Oh, that's good. Where can our listeners in 100 countries that are now going to be really eager to buy LIVSN gear find out more about you and the company? What's the best way for them to follow you?
So in real time, our Instagram would be the best place. And lately, it's been so awesome. Kelsey is the one posting most of the stuff on there and answering most questions. And so you get to hear the brand, but hear it through Kelsey's mouth. And that's a great place. It's at LIVSN Designs. It's LIVSN Designs plural. And then if you want to get more information beyond that, our website, same thing, www.livsndesigns.com. And then if you're there, there's an about section where you can read about our views on sustainability. You can read the values of the company. You can read the production principles, the way we design, and then you can actually go over to the blog, which is the pipeline. And there's a ton of content there. It's not just kind of like that thing that we update every few months with a update. It's updated several times a week with really good content. So between those two things, you'll get a lot of information.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. Keep killing it. It's been fun to be a small part of your journey. And so you got to come back in 2 years now so we can get another update.
Every 2 years. Okay.
Yeah. Let's do that. All right.
Thanks. And then when we do, Kelsey, we'll ask you what you learned in that 2 years.
Exactly.
Yes. And hopefully I'll still be here in 2 years and I'll be able to tell you everything I've learned.
Awesome. We'll count on it. See y'all.
All right.
Cool.
Take care.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for having us. Bye.
Bye.